There are aphids on your plant right now, not one or two. Dozens, maybe hundreds, pressed soft against the new stems, clustered so thickly along the growing tips that the green underneath has almost disappeared. And the longer you stand there looking at them, the worse it seems. By tomorrow, there will be more. By the end of the week, the leaves will be curling, yellowing, coated in a sticky film that catches the morning light. You know what to do? You have done it before. You reach for the hose, or the soap spray, or the bottle under the sink, and you begin. And in doing this, you may be making one of the most counterproductive decisions in your garden. Because something is already on its way to that plant. Something was drawn to those aphids the moment they appeared. Something has been tracking the chemical signals your stressed plant has been releasing into the air. And it is closer than you think. And the day you spray, the day you call the problem solved, is often the exact day you should have waited. Today we are going to talk about what is actually happening on a plant covered in aphids. Not just what the aphids are doing, but what they set in motion, the biological chain they activate, the creatures they summon, and why the gardener who truly understands this chain almost never needs a spray bottle again. Let's start with the aphids, because the first thing you need to understand about them is the thing that makes them seem so overwhelming so fast. During the growing season, females, and in spring and summer, nearly every aphid you see is female, do not need to mate to reproduce. They give birth to live young, fully formed female nymphs, already pregnant, capable of reproducing within days of being born. This process, called parthenogenesis, means that a single aphid arriving on a new plant on a warm spring morning can, within 2 weeks, be the ancestor of thousands. The exponential growth is real. The alarm you feel watching them multiply is not irrational, but here is what almost no gardener knows, and it changes everything about how you should respond. The moment aphids begin feeding on a plant, the plant begins to fight back, not with thorns or toxins, but with chemistry. Plants under aphid attack release specific volatile organic compounds into the air, airborne chemical distress signals that can travel dozens of meters on the breeze. Researchers at Wageningen University in the Netherlands and the James Hutton Institute in Scotland have tested these signals in controlled conditions, and what they found is extraordinary. These compounds are not random alarm signals. They are targeted attractants. Specific molecules attract specific predators. The aphid-infested plant is not suffering passively. It is calling for help. And something answers. The first wave is usually the ladybug. A single adult can consume up to 5,000 aphids across its lifetime. But it is the larva that is the real hunter. The ladybug larva looks nothing like the familiar red-spotted adult. It is dark, elongated, almost alien in appearance, and it moves directly into an aphid colony with a methodical efficiency that can clear an entire stem in a matter of days. It may already be on your plant right now, in egg form, invisible under a leaf, placed precisely by a female who smelled what your plant was broadcasting. But the ladybug is only the beginning. The second wave belongs to the lacewing. Entomologists who study them have given the larva a name that tells you everything you need to know. They call it the aphid lion. It is covered in spines, moves with a deliberate predatory focus, and seizes aphids with hollow mandibles that it uses to inject digestive fluid and consume the contents from the inside. A single larva can destroy 200 to 400 aphids before it pupates. The adult lacewing that laid those eggs was also drawn to your plant, also following the chemical signal, also part of a recruitment system that was already in motion before you noticed the problem. The third wave is the one most gardeners have never seen, even though it has been happening in their gardens for years. Parasitic wasps. Tiny, often just a few millimeters long, with names like Aphidius colemanni and Aphidius irvi, these wasps do not eat aphids the way a ladybug does. They insert a single egg inside a living aphid using a structure called an ovipositor. a biological needle so precise that the aphid often continues feeding for days with no visible sign of what has happened inside it. The larva hatches. It feeds on the aphid from within, keeping its host alive as long as possible, then consuming everything. The aphid swells, hardens, and turns a distinctive pale gold. Entomologists call this a mummy. When you know what to look for, you will begin finding them in colonies everywhere. Small, hard spheres among the living insects, each one a wasp days from emergence. A single female can parasitize more than 300 aphids in her lifetime. A population working through a large colony does something no spray bottle can replicate because it is precise in a way no chemical can be. And here is what the spray bottle does not understand. It cannot tell the difference between the aphid and the aphid lion. It cannot distinguish the pest from the mummy 3 days from hatching. When you treat a colony with even the most careful organic spray, the beneficials die alongside the aphids. The ladybug eggs under the leaf, the lacewing larvae on the stem, the parasitic wasps inside the swollen gold bodies, all of it gone. And then the aphids return first, because they always do. They reproduce faster than anything that eats them. Research on this exact dynamic shows that plants treated with pesticides during the early predator recruitment stage consistently had higher aphid numbers 2 weeks post-treatment than untreated plants. Because the predator wave was eliminated before it could arrive, you sprayed, it came back worse. You assumed the spray was not strong enough. The real problem was that you interrupted the most effective pest control system your garden had, one that was already deployed and days from delivering visible results. There is a concept ecologists call the predator-prey lag. Predator populations always respond to prey populations with a delay. The prey increases first. The predator population builds in response. There is a window, sometimes 1 week, sometimes 2, between the peak of the aphid population and the arrival of the predator wave. Most gardeners spray during that window. They act in the gap between the problem and the solution, and the action they take destroys the solution. So, what should you actually do? Wait. Not indefinitely, but for at least 5 to 7 days from the first sighting. In almost every case, within that window, you will begin to see ladybug adults on the plant, lacewing eggs appearing as tiny pale ovals on fine stalks beneath the leaves, the first gold mummies mixed into the colony. These are not signs of failure. They are signs that the system has activated. If after 10 days the population is still building with no predator activity, a targeted, minimal response is appropriate. A strong jet of water to physically knock aphids from the stems without leaving chemical residue. Insecticidal soap applied precisely and specifically to the aphid clusters, never broadcast, giving whatever beneficials remain the space to survive on adjacent surfaces, then wait again. The plant covered in aphids is not a plant that has failed. It is a plant that is signaling. It is broadcasting a call through the air that has been answered in gardens exactly like yours for hundreds of millions of years. The ladybug coming to that plant is not arriving by chance. It was summoned. And the spray bottle you reach for is not solving the problem. In most cases, it is interrupting the solution that was already on its way. Next time you see the aphids, put the bottle down, wait, watch the underside of the leaves for the eggs, watch the stems for the mummies. Watch for the ladybug that arrives with a kind of unhurried certainty, as if it always knew it was coming, because it did. Have you ever waited out an aphid infestation and watched the predators arrive? Or sprayed and had it come back worse the following week? Tell me what happened in the comments. I read every single one, and this community understands the garden in a way that never stops surprising me. And if you want to understand another invisible system already working in your garden right now, one most people walk past every single day without seeing, the next video is already waiting for you.